Okay, I'm going to talk about Spanaway Lake Park and a couple other permeable pavement projects we've done. And probably the most important thing is we've been working with parks quite a bit, and they've been a great ally in helping us use them kind of as guinea pigs for bioretention, filteras, porous asphalt, permeable pavers, and pervious concrete. So what I'm going to start with is kind of the team. So basically the team was Pierce County Swim and Pierce County Parks, and then we have been lucky enough to get some funding from Ecology. We've had 2 phases of Spanaway Lake Park already completed, with the 3rd phase, depending on the legislature, getting a grant from Ecology, and that portion will probably be constructed in late winter of 2016. And it will either be permeable pavers or pervious concrete, kind of waiting to the jury's out with what parks would like to use. So we used Sprinker Parking Lot was our pilot project, and so we used this project basically to meet with parks and say, hey, what would you like us to do over at Spanaway Lake Park? And we really did a good job of kind of a lesson learned. As you can see on the left, 2 months after installation, it's really working great. And that is really pouring. And that was the main installation was in September of 2010. And then 3 years after installation, we found that we had some issues with the porous asphalt, and most likely 2 reasons. We had way too much run-on, and you can see that we didn't regrade the original project, so we still have the channelization going from catch basin to catch basin, which we've now learned we wouldn't do that because it just creates an area for fines to migrate and start plugging up. So it was a really big lesson learned. So when we went to Spanaway Lake Park, the Parks Department asked if we would just not use any porous asphalt at all. So at that time, we had only used pervious concrete and porous asphalt, which they didn't want to use. And so we talked them into trying out some permeable pavers, which some people were a little hesitant at first because they thought it might be too bumpy and they hadn't used it. So we finally did talk them into letting us use that. And we picked this one particular area. It's a pretty large install. The boat ramp is right down the hill as you can see the lake. And so we thought this was a good opportunity to use the pavers so that there wouldn't be a chance of unraveling of the pervious concrete and just kind of give it a true test on how strong this stuff really is. And so far they've been very, very happy with the parks has. I mean, they probably wish we would have done a little more permeable pavers rather than the concrete. The nice thing about using the pavers, we also delineated the areas between where there was parking with a gray and the drive lane was red. And if you get a chance, you need to go out and look at it. It looks really nice. It takes trying to compare the two. The nice thing about the pavers is once they're in, it's in. It doesn't have to set for 7 days. However, you're putting in these banding curbs, and that's concrete, so that needs to set. But once it's done, and you can actually see the instant results of it can be raining out and water is already infiltrating through the system. The other advantage, and we'll find out, typically the way the parks does maintenance in a lot of ways on their roads is they use leaf blowers to blow the fir needles, the leaves, and all that stuff off the pavement. So we're thinking, and we'll know more this spring, if that really does help with keeping the pavers a lot cleaner than pervious concrete. And then we went ahead and we did quite a bit of pervious concrete. The reason I'm showing this particular section is it's actually in the middle of Breezeman Boulevard, which is kind of a through street in the park between Military and along Spanaway Lake there. And of course, when we did it, we had to have it covered for 7 days and direct traffic around the parking lot. But it turned out really nice. And everyone was pretty happy with it. And here's some pictures of some install. And to answer a question earlier, because our soils, you have to have certain cation exchange rate going on in the soils below for you to achieve water quality per ecology. We ended up putting in a 6-inch layer of sand for our water quality treatment under this, because this is under Spanaway soils, which is a type A soil that drains. You can't pour enough water into it. It just drains so fast. So you either put a treatment layer or you test your native soils to see if they do meet that water quality guidance that's in the ecology, which is in ecology, I believe, volume 5. Now, it took, of course, we had to wait 7 days, but it does set up a little bit quicker. So between the pervious concrete and the permeable pavers, you're probably looking about the same time frame. Also, I did a quick number crunch, and the permeable pavers is about $80 a square yard, whereas the pervious concrete in this case was like $50 a square yard, and that includes the aggregate base, the drainage sand, and so it was not quite double for the pavers, but they do look really nice. So it's a matter of what situation, how's maintenance, are you going to have to dig those things up, because the nice thing about pavers, you can remove and then replace them. The nice thing about both concrete and pavers is that they do require, or at least we required them to have certified installers, so we got pretty lucky with that. The next thing we've done, which is very unique, is we, in 2011, I believe it was, we did a cul-de-sac for 139th Street, and we kind of pushed the limits of pervious concrete. Okay, we did this to reduce groundwater flooding, and what was happening is prior to the project, you can see the water over the roadway on the left. There was up to 2 feet of water just standing, and it would stand there like weeks at a time until the groundwater infiltrated away. I mean, no one could get through there, no emergency vehicles, so it was really hard for the residents who lived there at the end of the street. So we decided to use pervious concrete in the opposite way. Well, 90% of the time it's infiltrating. The other 10% of the time the water is allowed to go up through the aggregate course and the surface, and then that way you can drive on it all winter, whether there's groundwater flooding or not. To achieve this, we also raised the grade of the road by 2 feet. And so this was kind of a unique way to use it, and we'll see how it lasts. So far, so good. It also received an award in 2012 for excellence in concrete construction, and mostly just because it was an innovative way to use it. So time will tell.
Thank you very much, Dawn. That was great. That was amazing. That photograph, 2 feet of water. So
It is.
So here's a question from Jeff, and then
Was
Julie.
2011. So the 139th Street Cul-de-sac was constructed in 2011. So it's like 3.5 years old right now. And there is some areas where, you know, there's a little bit of stuff that's been sealed off, which does happen on porous asphalt or pervious concrete. But considering how much is permeable, that little bit doesn't really matter. It'll just move on to the next spot where it can infiltrate down through the pavement surface. And if anyone wants to go out and take a look at it, they're more than welcome to. They can go to our website and see where it's at, or give me a call.
Dawn, do you give tours?
I haven't been, but there has, I may have to. It might be good if all of us get together and maybe do that at one time. And I know that the Washington Stormwater Center, Spanaway Lake Park, is on it, where there is a walking tour you can do. I think City of Puyallup is on there also, so there's LID sites in Puyallup, in Tacoma, and also Pierce County if someone would like to go see them.
Okay, thank you. And then Jeff has one more question. So it says if the road had to be raised 2 feet, could it have been raised in a conventional way with a pipe discharge, or would there still be an issue with the downstream water elevation?
Yeah, it was groundwater. We have an anomaly here that happens where sometimes, you know, you're used to groundwater being down. Well, depending on the rain, sometimes ours will pop up. So it actually pops up 2 feet, so no, that wouldn't have helped. For the pervious pavers, so far what they've done is they've just used a leaf blower to blow them off, and it's been fine so far. But the large installation was only placed in September, so time will tell. And in fact, on phase 3, we're going to talk to parks and ask them what their preference is, if they want pervious concrete or the pavers or a mix of both again. And one thing I probably should bring up too is that one thing we did on Spanaway Lake Park that we did learn from Sprinker is and it's tough in a retrofit, but we kind of work some of the old pavement around it and repave that area so it sheet flows gently onto the permeable pavement itself, so it's not this big channel of water, so it's a nice sheet flow.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you.